Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We've got a great show for you today. We got soccer, we got MLB. We're going to talk a lot of football as well, including a bit of a preseason recap from the last few days, what you might want to know heading into week one. But let's see what we want to know from Friday, the recap screen. A lot of green on here. Let's count them up, folks. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3. A 6-3 record, we'll take that pretty much every time. A few losses peppered across the board. But again, 6-3, that's something we are definitely going to take. Let's bring it in. Let's bring in the stars of the show. We got a lot of stars in the chat. I see you, Sean Ritchie, Gippers Picks, Mark Hood, Mark Buckholtz. We got Buckets, Eric David in the chat, Jason. We got Zack Cimini. And, of course, we got Larry Hartstein. Larry, we are just Tyreek Hill days away from football season. I mean, it's so close. We've already kind of seen it, right, with college football. But I got to say, a lot seems to have happened over the last few days in the preseason. And I think a lot of people are saying to themselves, well, it's just the preseason. None of this stuff in the last week or two really matters. But I don't know. We probably have a different take here. Any news or updates as far as the preseason heading into week one?
Yeah, well, Bryce Young looked competent as the former number one overall pick. And Trey Lance, you feel bad for him, threw for 300 plus, ran for a score, but also threw 5 picks and fumbled twice. And some of those picks were absolutely horrific. But staying with the Cowboys, there is some concern now about CeeDee Lamb. You know, $33 million he was offered. He wants Justin Jefferson money, which is $35 million. Mike McCarthy started to admit to some concern. What if he only comes in a day or two before that kickoff against the Browns? I think if he misses week one, we could see that Browns line go right now, Browns -1.5, all the way up to 3. And then the Rams have some very disturbing news. They lose their left tackle, Alaric Jackson, for a 2-game suspension. And then their defensive captain, Ernest Jones, requests a trade. That's a guy who had 145 tackles, 4.5 sacks. He makes the calls in the huddle. And so let's see what shakes out with him this week. So a lot of news still to follow this week.
Yeah, you lose Aaron Donald, then you potentially lose your captain as well. That's not a good look for the Rams. That's NFC West is interesting. I mean, we saw Geno Smith and that Seattle offense start to cook a little bit. So let's see what happens in that NFC West. Zack Cimini, any response to that? Anything that surprised you overall from the preseason before we get to these official picks? Anything stand out to you?
Not too much. I was impressed with Bo Nix with his reps that he got in his first 2 preseason games. I'm glad it's over. I think preseason is just so watered down nowadays. So I'm ready for the regular season. Let's get it started.
Yeah, fair enough. I was watching my Washington Commanders get a W last night. And listen, it's the preseason, but we don't get a lot of W's around Washington. So we'll take it. Buckets, how you doing today? I'm looking in the background. I feel like before we get to your official pick, are those new pictures and portraits in the background? I don't think I've seen that dog one over your right shoulder before.
That one is definitely new. That was a good friend of mine got me that for my birthday, Sia. And so it was a nice portrait she got of Freya that is very sweet and means a lot to me. But yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
I seem to recall that you may have had a birthday this last weekend. By the way, happy birthday, late. When was your birthday? Are you now 30 years old?
My birthday is today, Sia. So you were not late. You were right on time, and that's what matters. Yes, I turned the big 3-0 today. I'm officially old and wise, and I think that's what happens at 30. I'm not really sure, honestly.
Yeah, Buckets, you're now officially the oldest person on the show. Everybody put happy birthday in the chat for Buckets. Hit the like button if you would. All right, enough small talk. Let's get to some picks. We got MLB, we've got some NFL takes, and we've got some soccer. Buckets, you're here for that. What's the play on your birthday?
My first official bet as a 30-year-old, Sia. We're going to La Liga in a matchup between Villarreal and Celta Vigo. And Sia, you might like this Villarreal side because I think this is your generation. Maybe not. Their nickname is the Yellow Submarine. I think that probably has some musical connotation that I'm sure you're aware of. They are playing a Celta Vigo side who have looked impressive in their first 2 games, but they've looked impressive because they played very bad teams. If you look at the La Liga table right now, Celta Vigo is actually at the top spot, number 1. However, they're not going to stay there for long. I do think they score this afternoon against Villarreal, but the Yellow Submarines at home in the form that they are in with the pickups they had during the summer, this is going to be a goal-heavy matchup. I'm taking Villarreal over 1.5 team total at -135. I do like both teams to score. I do like over 2.5. I do like Villarreal to win, but my favorite bet is Villarreal to put in 2 during the 90 minutes this afternoon.
Okay, first of all, The Yellow Submarine song, I am moderately familiar with it, but that was before my time. So insult received and digested. I'll try to throw one back at you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to take that pick, the first pick of Buckets 30s, go to BetMGM. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. If you haven't already taken advantage of that heading into football season, probably a pretty good time to do it. All right, we got to get to some MLB. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
All right, we're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And Zach, we actually have a day baseball game thanks to a doubleheader. You're not headed that way, but you're headed to one of the earlier games of the evening slate. It's Phillies, it's Astros, what's the play?
Yeah, usually I've been attacking the unders on these morning shows, but I'm going with an over today, Sia. Over 8 runs between the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies. This Phillies team comes in off a huge weekend at the plate against the Kansas City Royals, scored 11 runs in both games, and they're going to be seeing Ronel Blanco of the Houston Astros, who on the season has pitched very well, but as of late, he's been shaky. He pitched just 3 2/3 innings in his last start against the Boston Red Sox. That was his shortest outing since May. Gave up 5 runs. And then when Blanco's on the mound, there's always a worry with his walks. 7th most walks amongst starting pitchers with 55 on the year. I think this Phillies team is going to have its way against Blanco. You look at Kyle Schwarber, right now 5th over the last 30 days in RBIs, 25 RBIs over the last 30 days. And then there's a nice little trend with Zach Wheeler. You wouldn't expect it, but in his home starts, the over is 5-0 over his last 5 home starts, and they're going over by a wide margin. Double-digit runs are being scored, an average of 14 runs. And this Astros team, they did play in Sunday Night Baseball. It is their second game that they played in Sunday Night Baseball. The first time they scored 10 runs in the following game on Monday. So I'm going over here, over the 8 runs.
All right, over the 8 runs. Not concerned with the Sunday Night Baseball, and they hit the ball pretty well last night against the Orioles. That was a kind of a pick'em scenario. I didn't bet on the game, but I certainly favored the Orioles just a little bit. Astros bats came out to play for sure. Ryan Kofter, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He says, my birthday was yesterday. My daughter's is today. Happy birthday, Buckets. So Ryan, if you want to drop the name of your daughter, we'll give her a shout out. But happy birthday to her, Buckets. Go ahead.
Tell you what, Ryan, give me a couple minutes here, but I'm going to find you a Go the Yard pick as a celebration for both my birthday and your daughter's birthday as well. So give me a couple minutes here, Sia, but I want to circle back to that.
I absolutely love that. And Reginald Boomer says Sniper's birthday is Thursday. Of course, we all knew that. Birthday week, let's go. Yeah, it's the Early Edge birthday week. So my birthday present is this. It's a future. It's a division winner. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, gosh, the futures, I kind of like a bet just for today or for maybe later this week, but I'm not really interested in investing my money long term. I got to tell you, especially when it comes to division futures, I think all of us to some degree are kind of missing the boat here, because when lines came out for division futures, I don't know, 2.5, 3 months ago, it might have even been longer than that. It would have been right after the season, actually. The numbers have moved so much on ones that seem pretty obvious. I'm going to give you an obvious one, but I want to hammer this point home. I like the Eagles to win the NFC East at -125. I've mentioned them before, not as an official play, but something I was certainly leaning into. This line opened at +115. It's now -125. You've lost a lot of value. But my point is, if you consider these division futures right when they came out, you're getting the best of the number. You're getting the best of the investment. So I don't want you to be so shy about investing in some of these long-term futures when you know the line's going to move. I'll give you an example. I went on HQ right after the division lines came out, and I gave out, I still have the clip, I posted it on Twitter many months ago, of the New York Jets at +240. Well, that number is now +150 in some places, +170 in other places. Do you want to be on the right side of that investment? The Atlanta Falcons, that opened at -105. It's now like -130, -140, -150 in some places. This Eagles line, like I said, +115, now -125, a line I still like. But my point is, a lot of these obvious ones move, and you can take advantage of it if you just take it when it comes out. So I got to drive that point home because we're trying to make money at the end of the day here. And if you wait too long, or if you're just not so interested in futures, you're kind of leaving a little bit of money on the table. I really like the Eagles to win the NFC East. This is as much a process of elimination pick as it is a play on the Philadelphia Eagles. I like what they did on the defensive side of the ball. I like the new DC. I love Saquon Barkley. I understand Jason Kelsey's not on this team anymore, but all the weapons are there. They're healthy. They've really stacked. They added Jahan Dotson as a third receiver, if not a fourth receiver. This team is too good. And with the Cowboys just not doing much in the offseason, having the issues with CeeDee Lamb, Washington, a good team, but not anywhere where they need to be to compete with the Eagles. Giants certainly not in the conversation. I just don't see anybody else winning this division. Even if we pile up a couple of injuries on the Eagles, I still think they win this division. I like the number -125. I loved it at +115, but this number is still very doable. Eagles to win the NFC East. All right, Larry, now I know you have an NFL future as well, but you've got to play for today in Major League Baseball. So let's start with that, and then we'll talk some NFL.
Okay, I'm on the Mariners. I know everyone has written them off and they fired their manager, but this new manager, Dan Wilson, the longtime catcher, he brings back Edgar Martinez, a Mariners legend, as the hitting coach. And they need a hitting coach because they strike out more than any team in baseball. They have the lowest batting average. It's been pathetic. But over the weekend, they did win 2 out of 3 against the Giants in dramatic fashion. What I loved is they played a little bit of small ball. Instead of just waiting around for the home runs and striking out all the time, they stole 5 bases yesterday. They executed a sacrifice bunt, which had people in Seattle absolutely shocked. And they get Bryce Miller on the mound tonight. Absolutely lights out at home with a 2.09 ERA against the Rays, who are on the 3rd leg, the 8th game of a 10-game trip. I just think the price is right on the Mariners. I think they're going to make a little run with the new management in town because there is some talent there, and it's also a sort of revenge game or a reunion game for Randy Arozarena against his former team. And then looking at the NFL futures, there are so many that I love, and one of them that I got down on was Derek Carr under 34.50.5 passing yards. This was at MGM, was the best number that I've seen to go under. There are lower amounts out there for sure. This guy played 17 games last year, despite injuring his same throwing shoulder 3 times, despite 2 concussions. He's 33 years old. It was amazing how he gritted it out, but that's one huge risk, is the injury risk behind a very shaky offensive line with Ryan Ramczyk not playing, Trevor Penning, a first-round bust. So I don't like the O-line there. And also Spencer Rattler looked really good yesterday, led 3 touchdown drives for the Saints. And maybe if things go awry, maybe they say, let's see what we have in the rookie out of South Carolina. So I just think there's a lot of ways that we can cash this Derek Carr under 34.50. I mean, he played 17 games last year and he only got to 3,800 yards last season.
Yeah, I think it's a smart play. And I wonder, Larry, where the offense comes from in general from the Saints. I mean, I know they still have some weapons, but you add in the Derek Carr age, the history of injuries. I don't know that Spencer Rattler threatens his job in year 1, but I'm not 100. That's just my opinion. I'm not 100% sure it matters, because I think this under probably hits in more cases than it doesn't, whether there's an injury or not. So I think this is a really smart play. I see Zach kind of nodding his head too. Zach, are you leaning this direction as well?
Yeah, I am. I think the Saints overachieved at the end of the year. I think, what was it? They went 5-1 overall. Not very many upgrades in the division we know is going to be better this year. Tampa Bay's looked great in the preseason, and the Falcons, we know, are going to be much better this year as well.
Yeah. Mark Buchholz, by the way, he says, I have the Eagles to win the Super Bowl and a separate division winner parlay bet that includes, I don't know, what does that say? The Eagles to win the NFC East. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, the Eagles are 20. Oh, they were, when they were plus 115 to win the division, again, this was 3-4 months ago when the odds were, it was actually around probably 4 to 5 months ago when the odds were coming out. They were 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. They're now 15-1. And I'll mention another 20-1 team to win the Super Bowl. The Jets are still 20-1. I understand the Chiefs are in the AFC, and I understand the AFC is kind of loaded, but Larry, real quick response. I mean, I'm big on the Jets to win the division. I understand Miami and Buffalo have something to say about that, but if Aaron Rodgers is maybe 70% of the quarterback that we know and love, doesn't this team look great on both sides of the ball?
They do. I like your Eagles play a lot better,
Okay.
especially with Deron Bland missing 6 to 8 weeks. Another loss that the Cowboys have suffered. Just been a horrible preseason for the Cowboys in terms of injuries and holdouts and disaffection. But the Jets, yeah, they should be good. They should be right in the mix to win it. They have the defense. They finished 7-10 with horrific quarterback play last year. And I love Tyrod Taylor backing up Aaron Rodgers. But I'm just, Robert Saleh, let's see what he can do, with all these pieces that they've put together. It's going to be a tight one. I think it's going to be a tight one between the three teams at the top.
Buckets, I see you tracking this. I do have an admission before we get to the recap screen and a little promo to remind you of what we got coming from an NFL and college football standpoint. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I was just doing it for fun. I sacrificed, and I use that word, I boldface it. I sacrificed $10 to make an 8-leg parlay on division winners. Buckets, you want to know how much that $10 parlay pays?
Yes.
$4,600. That's how ridiculous it does include the Eagles. It includes the Jets. It has some outliers like the Colts to win the division. If you want to swap them out for the Texans, instead of $4,600, it pays $2,200. Larry, should I post that? I know it's super irresponsible but it's $10. Should I, Buckets, Larry, Zach, head nods? Should I post that 8-leg division parlay?
You absolutely should. And I actually have an article on SportsLine with my division winner parlay. And I think it's even a bigger long shot than what you have. But I did go with the Jets as well.
We'll have to compare notes on that. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of football, don't forget football. I mean, we've reminded you, football is back. Our weekly college football preview will air on CBS Sports Network Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern with EC, Mike McClure, Chip Patterson, and Emery Hunt. And our weekly NFL preview with Will Brinson, Mike McClure, Larry Hartstein, and RJ White will be on CBS Sports Network Thursdays at 2 p.m. set your picks for the week. You can find both after the show on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. Again, that's a 2 p.m. show Wednesday and Thursday for college football and NFL, and we'll even post it on YouTube, it looks like, as well. Look out for that. Buckets, I'm looking out for you. What you got?
You were going to forget entirely that I had promised a birthday go the yard, not only to Ryan, but also to his daughter for their birthdays yesterday and today. So, Sia, I found 2 players that I like to go the yard this afternoon. Both playing for the same team, both plus 500 on MGM. So one is for Ryan. I think it was Ryan. It might have been Brian. Ryan, this one is for you. Jake Cronenworth for the San Diego Padres at plus 500. And to your daughter, whose birthday is today, Jackson Merrill for the San Diego Padres, there we go, at plus 500. I'm going to play both of them in honor of all of the birthdays going on here today. But I feel like one of them, if not both of them, Sia, are going to go yard today.
All right, I absolutely love that. No objections here. By the way, I mispronounced his last name. It's Kauter. And his daughter's name, whose birthday is today, Emerson. Emerson Kauter, happy birthday. I hope you have a great one. Buckets, I hope you have a great birthday too. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here. I'm on the Eagles to win the NFC East at minus 125. Buckets. Villarreal team total over 1.5 at minus 135. Zack Cimini, Phillies, Astros over 8, minus 105. That's a 640 start, folks. Mariners money line minus 118 from the Maestro, and Derek Carr under 3,450.5 passing yards at minus 135. I got to apologize. I know you guys always fill the chat with picks, and I didn't get to many of them, but absolutely love the participation in the chat. Joe, I know you don't always make the morning show. Thank you for being in here along with everybody else. Ryan, again, happy birthday to your daughter. Brad Betts is in here, of course, dropping soccer knowledge. Big Cheesy in here. Luis Arraez over 1.5 total bases at minus 105. Rick Funcannon also in here. Thanks for being in here. We'll see you again tomorrow. We're going to do it again. Probably going to even have more picks for the Tuesday slate. Maybe we'll drop some NFL picks in here as well. Really appreciate you being a part of this Early Edge crew. On behalf of Zack Cimini, on behalf of Larry Hartstein, and the birthday boy and birthday girl, Emerson and Buckets. And let's see, who was it? The Sniper on Thursday. And of course, Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. It's been a great show, folks. Let's cash some of these tickets and have another winning day when we return tomorrow. This is the Early Edge. I'm the Counselor of Cash, and we rest our case.